The first scripture reading for today is from Genesis 39, 1 through 23. It can be found on the pages listed in your listen for the word of the Lord. Now Joseph was taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites, who had brought him down there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he became a successful man. And he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord caused all that he did to prosper in his hands. So Joseph found favor in his sight, and attended him. And he made him overseer of his house, and put him in charge of all that he had. From the time that he made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had, in house and field. So he left all that he had in Joseph's charge. And having him, he had no concern for anything but the food which he ate. Now Joseph was handsome and good-looking. And after a time, his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Lo, having me, my master has no concern about anything in the house, and he has put everything that he has in my hand. He is not greater in this house than I am, nor has he kept back anything from me except yourself, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" And although she spoke to Joseph day after day, he would not listen to her to lie with her or to be with her. But one day, when he went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was there in the house, she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand, and fled and got out of the house. And when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and had fled out of the house, she called to the men of her household and said to them, "See, he has brought among us a Hebrew to insult us. He came into me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his garment with me and fled and got out of the house." Then she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she told him the same story, saying, "The Hebrew servant whom you have brought among us came into me to insult me. But as soon as I lifted up my voice and cried, he left his garment with me and fled out of the house." When his master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, "This is the way your servant treated me," his anger was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph, and showed him steadfast love, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's care all the prisoners who were in the prison, and whatever was done there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison paid no heed to anything that was in Joseph's care, because the Lord was with him. And whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. The word of the Lord.
Our second reading for today comes from Joel chapter 2, verses 26 through 29. Listen for the word of the Lord. "You shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, who has dealt wondrously with you. And my people shall never again be put to shame. You shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I, the Lord, am your God, and there is no one else. And my people shall never again be put to shame. And it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Even upon the men servants and maid servants in those days, I will pour out my spirit." This is the word of the Lord.
We're in the third week of our series about God's promises. And so the first week, we learned that God promised Noah that never again would the world be destroyed by water. And then the second week, we learned that God promised Abram, "I will bless you, and you will be a blessing." And we read a little bit later, between then and the scripture we read today, we read that Abraham passed down his promise to Isaac, his son, and then later Isaac passed down down this promise in the form of a blessing, actually, to Jacob, one of his sons. It's a little like telephone at this point, right? 2 stages later, 2 generations later. And the promise sounds like this, from Isaac to Jacob. May God give to you the blessing of Abraham, to you and to your offspring with you, so that you may take possession of the land where you now live as an alien, land that God gave to Abraham. That's what he says. And now we've sort of skipped Jacob's generation, and we're looking at one of Jacob's sons. Jacob has 12 sons by 4 different women. Joseph is the second to last, but he is the firstborn of his beloved wife, because Jacob loved one more than the others. So says the story. Jacob loved Joseph, as you can imagine. We could even say favored Joseph, right? Just like Jacob favored wives, he favored children. Jacob gave Joseph this famous garment, right? We've heard about it. They made a play about it, right? The Technicolor dream coat, right? So he has this garment of many colors. But at this stage of the story, right, if we were to go back in Genesis, we have no record of Jacob passing on a promise or a blessing. Not yet. Doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, it just hasn't happened yet. So what we have is Jacob favoring Joseph and creating jealousy among his children. What we also have is Joseph, who is sort of socially unaware, right? If you know his story, that's how I understand Joseph, because his brothers are clearly really agitated with him. They're very jealous. Joseph seems to not know at all. He just continues to flame the fans of jealousy by telling them that he had a dream. He says, listen to this dream I had. We were all binding sheaves of corn in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright while your sheaves gathered around mine and they bowed down to me. And so now his brothers are jealous and they're angry. And listen, he says, again, a little unaware. Listen, he says, I had another dream, and this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. And so again, his brothers are jealous, and his father this time rebukes him. So perhaps you know the rest of Joseph's story. Joseph's brothers plot against him. They throw him in a pit one afternoon, which almost sounds like harsh hazing, but hazing. Then they cross the line, it seems like, and they sell him as a slave to some wanderers that are passing by. And eventually Joseph is traded to an Egyptian man named Potiphar. And so picture Joseph with me. No family, no Technicolor dream coat, no promise yet. I wonder what Joseph thought about his dreams. Freud says that dreams reveal the unconscious wishes of the dreamer. Now, another view of dreams, this time from Dr. Domhoff. Domhoff says that dreams reflect thoughts and concerns of our waking life. So it's a little different, not our wishes, but we're working out things that happen in our waking life, which that's basically what we think now. I think that's kind of the general consensus of dreams. Domhoff also says, in his own way, which seems a little arrogant to me because dreams seem very vague and confusing to me. He says that if he could see 75 to 100 of your dreams, he could piece together a very good psychological portrait of you. And he says that if he had 1,000 dreams over a couple decades of your life, that he could give you a profile of your mind that is as individualized and accurate as your fingerprints. Yet another view of dreams, this one from Cartwright, says that the interpretation of dreams may have more to do with the one interpreting dreams than the dreamer. Okay, so Joseph lived before Freud and Domhoff and Cartwright. And so in Joseph's day, dreams were believed to be interactions with the gods. God was speaking through dreams. God was trying to say something to humanity. And so you still have this picture of Joseph, right? He has a new garment now. It's one of a house slave. He has no family. He has no blessing or promise to hold on to. But he has his dreams. The same dreams that got him thrown into a pit and sold into slavery. So I wonder again, what does Joseph think about his dreams? Did he hold on to them? Did his dreams give him courage? Did they prompt him to greatness? Or did he wish he never had them? Because here's the thing, despite being a house slave, Joseph seems to be blessed. Right? I mean, that's the story we hear today. Whatever he puts his hands to worked, it says. He was good at his job. People liked him. People trusted him. He's doing well for himself in his new garment. He might not have freedom, but he has prestige. He has power, a certain form of power. He has responsibilities. And so you have to wonder, are his dreams coming true? And then we have this fantastic story that is right out of a soap opera, right? One day his mistress propositions him. She is persistent. And when he runs in the other direction, he leaves his garment behind. That's our story. And she accuses him of sexual assault. And now, Joseph is wearing another garment. Perhaps the picture in your head is that old-fashioned pinstripe prisoner uniform. Or I prefer the new, more fashionable orange jumpsuit. So Joseph first had a garment of love from his father, and then he had a garment of slavery from Potiphar, and now he's wearing a garment of imprisonment. What does Joseph think of his dreams now? Because even while in prison, it says, Joseph still seems to be blessed, right? Whatever he puts his hands to works out. Again, we're told that. People liked him. People trusted Joseph. He's doing well for himself. Does that mean his dreams are coming true? Again, he might not have freedom, but he has some form of prestige. He has some power. He certainly has been given, again, responsibilities. Now it says also that God was with Joseph. But I wonder if Joseph knew that, right? Or is that the perspective of the writer? When all this was happening, did Joseph feel, know, believe that God was with him? Where did Joseph find hope or courage or tenacity? How come he kept going? What helped him keep going? How did he keep faith, I guess, is how we would say it. And so here's my big wonder today. Is it possible that Noah was given a promise, and Abram was given a promise, but Joseph was given a dream? I mean, his dreams got him into trouble, for sure, in the beginning. But he had them. But did he hold on to them? Because Joseph doesn't know the end of his story any more than we know the end of our story. And so here we are again, our very first day as Grace Presbyterian Church. Do we have dreams to hold on to? Will we dream together? Will we remember our dreams? Will we remind one another of those dreams? Will we dream the dream that God has? Or will we stick to ours and not ask God what God's dreams are? Will we remind the world around us of what God's dreams are for the world? Because, make no mistake, right? Our world is filled with ups and downs very similar to Joseph's life. Our world is filled with families who are jealous and angered. Our world is filled with betrayal and imprisonment and human trafficking. Our world, our neighbors, your neighbors, live sometimes as aliens in their own home. Our world, our neighbors, those we work with, live often without the needed power to change their surroundings. Our lives, our neighbors, our co-workers, our families, we will all experience ups and downs of life very similar to Joseph's. Will we have dreams to remember? Will we hold on to them? Will we be bitter because they're not coming true the way we thought they were going to come true? Will we give up on them? Will we be angry that God gave them to us? Which is, I find always fascinated when we're angry at God, totally aside. Because to be angry at God is to have tremendous faith in God. To be angry that there is this entity who would give us a dream and then not make it happen the way we want the dream to happen. It's to give tremendous power and agency to God. My hope for us is that we would dream, that when we gather in small groups, that we would share with one another what we believe God wants for us. I spent just a few minutes yesterday before, in the middle of the afternoon, I was driving by and I thought, I'm just going to stop. And I came into the sanctuary and I sat on the chancel in an empty sanctuary. The balloons were here and it was all decorated in red already. And I don't know, I got my game on, whatever that looks like for me. And I said last night that, it's almost 9 years to the date that I had my first call. And so now, here we are in my second and in your new call as a congregation. And there's a re-upping, I think, that is necessary. Are we in again? Is this what we want to do? Right? I say all the time that Christian faith is not an individual sport. It's a group sport. And group and community takes a lot of work. You gotta want it pretty bad, because it's a lot easier to walk away from one another sometimes. And so what I was fascinated by, because I'll be honest, we've had some really full couple years, right? We started another business, the Wellness Center. We merged churches last year. This year we're gonna build a sanctuary. That is our dream, at least right now. So there was something rattling in my head that I didn't realize was, what on earth else could we do, God? What on earth else would you call us to do? I mean, come on. We're pretty busy. And we've been really good at following dreams so far. And I don't think I was asking God for a break. I don't know what I was, but there was this thing rattling in my head. And so when I walked into the sanctuary to my car, what I saw was just kind of the vast amount of land that we have. But we actually live on a really large piece of property. And I'm not saying that we should build on all of it. I'm not saying anything. What I'm saying is that the resource visually in front of me is vast. Especially compared to a world that is kind of built up on top of each other. That's not true here. We have space to grow and space to dream. Literally or proverbially, we have space. I wonder what God will do with that space. Space. Inside us, outside of us, when we gather. What is it that God would have? What is the dream that God would have? And I guess since I'm clearly vamping off my manuscript, I would say that if someone shares a dream with you and it makes you jealous and angry, stop for a second. Don't throw them in a pit. Right? I don't know what dreams do, but I think sometimes they make us jealous and angry. Sometimes they make us excited. Sometimes they make us scared. Right? Which is all great to have a community, because usually in any small group you have one person scared and one person excited, and they have to balance each other somehow. And that's what we need. That's why it's better to be together. So I don't know what the dreams God has for us, but I certainly know that the resources in this room, in these people that you are sitting by, there is vast space for growth. There is faith available within our being that God wishes to give us dreams to hold on to. And that I don't know that it's that bad that Noah got a blessing and Abraham got a blessing, but Joseph got a dream. That's pretty fair of God and faithful. And so if it be up to us, Grace Presbyterian Church, let's make sure that we have dreams and we hold on to them. And let's also make sure that our world knows what those dreams are that God has for us. Amen. We're going to sing the same song that we were taught last week. So